My bedroom was on the second floor, providing a perfect vantage point to observe the new neighbors as they moved in early one morning. The couple, a man and a woman, bustled about, unloading boxes from a moving truck and carrying them into the house across the street. I watched with mild interest, my eyes soon drifting up to the second floor window directly opposite mine. To my surprise, a girl about my age stood there, peering back at me. She was pale with long, dark hair that cascaded around her face. Her eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I felt a chill despite the warm summer air. Then she broke into a smile and waved, motioning for me to open my window. Curious, I complied, sliding the glass pane up to let the morning breeze filter into my room. The girl leaned out of her window, cupping her hands around her mouth to whisper, "Hi, I'm Amelia." Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper, yet it carried across the distance between us as if she were standing right beside me. I smiled back, trying to mask the unease that had crept over me. "Nice to meet you, Amelia. I'm Miles." She grinned wider, a look of excitement dancing in her eyes. "Keep your window open," she said before retreating into the shadows of her room. Puzzled, I stared at the empty window for a moment, wondering why she wanted me to keep my window open. The morning sun cast long shadows into the room behind her, making it difficult to see much beyond the window frame. Then just as suddenly, Amelia reappeared, holding something in her hands. With a swift motion, she tossed it through the air. It was a paper airplane that glided smoothly across the gap between our homes, slipping effortlessly through my open window and landing on the floor at my feet. I picked it up, noticing the word "open" scrawled across one of the wings in neat handwriting. Intrigued, I carefully unfolded the paper airplane. Inside, a message was written. "Hey Miles, I'll come over tonight and introduce myself." I blinked at the note, my brow furrowing. Come over tonight? What did she mean by that? Surely she'd be coming over with her parents, right? It seemed a bit strange for a girl I'd just met to make such a declaration. I hastily scribbled a reply on the same paper. "Come over tonight. What do you mean?" I turned to toss it back, but when I looked up, Amelia had vanished from the window. Her room looked dark and empty, though the window remained open. After a moment's hesitation, I threw the paper airplane back, hoping she'd respond later. As the day wore on, I found myself thinking about Amelia more and more. There was something about her that seemed off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but the unease that had touched me when I first saw her hadn't fully gone away. I told myself I was overthinking it. After all, it wasn't every day you met a new friend right across the street. As night fell, I kept glancing at the window across from mine, but there was no sign of Amelia. The house remained dark, save for the occasional flicker of light from the ground floor. When my mom called me down for dinner, I assumed this must be what Amelia had meant. Her family must have been invited over for a welcome dinner. "Honey, come down for dinner," my mom called. I started to go downstairs, my stomach rumbling. The smell of my mom's famous chicken traveled through the house, making my mouth water. As I rounded the corner into the dining room, I saw the new neighbors already seated at the table with my parents. But Amelia wasn't there, just her parents. Curiosity getting the better of me, I blurted out, "Where's Amelia?" The reaction was immediate and jarring. The man's face turned ashen, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. His wife's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling up in her eyes. The room fell silent, the only sound the soft clink of silverware against plates as everyone stopped eating. "Excuse me?" the man asked, his voice strained. "Amelia, your daughter?" I repeated, now feeling a sinking sensation in my gut. The woman let out a strangled sob, burying her face in her hands. The man stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Our daughter passed away a year ago in an accident," he said, his voice trembling with barely contained emotion. "Whatever this is, it's not funny." My heart skipped a beat, the blood draining from my face as I realized what he was saying. Amelia was dead. The couple left in a hurry, my mom's frantic apologies trailing after them. She turned to me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Why would you say something like that? Just go to your room." I tried to explain, to tell her about the girl I'd seen, but the words stuck in my throat. I could see that she wouldn't believe me. No matter what I said. So, with my mind racing and a cold sweat breaking out on my brow, I headed back to my room, the ominous weight of the evening pressing down on me. I turned on the light and collapsed onto my bed, my thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and fear. Was I losing my mind? Had I imagined the whole thing? Suddenly, a faint rustling sound caught my attention. I looked up just in time to see a paper airplane glide silently through my open window, landing softly on the floor. I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. With trembling hands, I picked it up and looked across at Amelia's window. She was there, standing in the shadows, watching me. My heart pounded in my chest as she slowly stepped into the moonlight. But the girl who stood before me now was not the same as the one I'd seen that morning. Her once lively eyes were hollow and dark, her skin an eerie shade of gray. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that this was no ordinary girl. Trembling, I unfolded the paper airplane, dreading what I might find inside. It read, "Behind you." The lights in my room flickered out, plunging me into darkness. My breath caught in my throat, and I heard the creak of the floorboards behind me, slow and deliberate, like someone or something was approaching. I turned around slowly, every muscle in my body tensed with fear. The room was pitch black, but I could feel a presence, cold and oppressive, standing right behind me. A chill ran down my spine as a voice, faint and whispery, echoed in my ear. "Miles!" It was Amelia, and she was right behind me. I bolted from my bed, stumbling in the darkness as I tried to reach the door. My hands fumbled for the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn, as if it were being held shut by an unseen force. Panic surged through me as I pounded on the door, calling out for my parents. But the words seemed to die in my throat, swallowed by the oppressive darkness that filled the room. The cold presence pressed closer, and I could feel the air grow heavy around me. Tears streamed down my face as I realized there was no escape. Whatever Amelia had become, she wasn't going to let me go. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the lights flickered back on. The room was empty, silent, as if nothing had happened. The door swung open easily under my hand, and I stumbled out into the hallway, my heart still racing. But as I looked back into my room, my blood ran cold. There on the floor was the paper airplane, its message still visible, "Behind you." And on the windowsill, where the wind gently stirred the curtains, I saw it, a single handprint, small and pale, as if pressed against the glass from the outside. I slammed the door shut and backed away, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Amelia wasn't just a ghost. She was something far worse, and she had chosen me. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button, and we'll notify you when the next story comes out.